When we die, our bodies don't get the message right away. That's something they don't really prepare you for. Not in school, not in training, nowhere. People like to believe death is clean, instant, final. It isn't. The body lingers, muscles fire, nerves misfire, air shifts through places it no longer belongs. Fingers twitch, jaws move. Sometimes, if you're unlucky, the whole body jerks like it's trying to wake back up. The first time it happened to me was during my training. I was leaning in, examining the arm, just doing what I'd been taught, when the body suddenly jerked and its hand snapped shut around my wrist. I shouted, actually screamed. One of the instructors laughed so hard he had to sit down. "Relax," he said. "He's not coming back." I made some joke about zombies. Everyone does, at least once. You laugh it off, you learn the science behind it, you tell yourself it's normal, and eventually you stop reacting. Working at the morgue, I got used to it. The movements, the sounds, the little reminders that the body doesn't quite understand it's dead yet. Most of them are random, meaningless. It's all explainable, it has to be. At least, most of them are. He came in on a Wednesday. Male, mid-40s, approximately 6'4", lean build, dark hair with streaks of gray in the temples. Facial hair short, uneven, like he hadn't shaved in a few days. Harold M. Cause of death undetermined. That part stayed blank longer than usual. There were no clear signs of trauma, no overdose indicators, no disease obvious enough to call it on arrival. Just gone. Found in his home, no signs of struggle. It happens more often than people realize. Still, something about that always sits wrong. "Another mystery," my colleague Jenna had said, flipping through the intake paperwork. "Yeah," I replied. "He looks like he just stopped." Jenna shrugged. "They'll figure it out upstairs." We both knew that wasn't always true. I prepped him like any other, cleaned, tagged, logged, placed him in his drawer. Mr. Harold. That's what I called him in my notes. I always use names when I can. It feels right. Nights passed, but by the time I was ready to head home from the graveyard shift, the unexpected occurred. The first movement. Subtle. His fingers had shifted. Not dramatically, just slightly curled inward like they tightened. Normal. Post-mortem contraction. I noted it and moved on. The second time, it was his jaw. Slightly open when I checked him again. That happens too. Muscles relax, air escapes. Still normal, still explainable. By the third night, I started paying closer attention. Because Mr. Harold wasn't just moving, he was repositioning. Not fully. Not in ways that would trigger panic in anyone else, but enough that I noticed. His arm would be angled slightly differently than before, his shoulders not resting the same way against the table. Small things, small enough to doubt yourself over. "Hey," I said to Jenna one night, "you ever seen a body move more than usual?" She didn't look up from her paperwork. "They all move." "Yeah, but I mean, consistently." That got her attention. She glanced over at me. "You thinking what?" I hesitated, then shook my head. "Nothing, just weird." She smirked. "You've been on the night shift too long." Maybe she was right. By the end of the week, I started checking on him more often. Not out of fear, curiosity. I'd make my rounds, log the temperatures, check the storage units, and I'd always stop at his drawer. Mr. Harold. Every time something was off. A hand slightly closer to the edge. A foot angled outward. Once, I could have sworn his head had shifted just a few degrees to the left. I told myself it was paranoia. Anything but what it felt like. The night everything changed, it was quiet. Too quiet, even for us. Jenna had stepped out for a break, leaving me alone with the hum of the refrigerator units and the low buzz of fluorescent lights. I was doing my usual rounds when I noticed it. His drawer, slightly open. I froze, not because it was open, because I knew I had closed it. I always double check, always. "Jenna?" I called out. No answer. Of course not. She wasn't back yet. I approached slowly, told myself it was nothing. Told myself drawers can shift. Old tracks, slight tilts. I reached for the handle, pulled it open. It was empty. For a moment, I didn't understand what I was looking at. My brain tried to correct it. He's there, you just missed him. But he wasn't. Mr. Harold was gone. My first thought wasn't fear, it was procedure. Check the room. Check the logs. Check for errors. Bodies don't just disappear. I found him 10 minutes later. On the floor. Not fallen. Not dropped. Positioned. What is this, some kind of fucked up prank, I thought? His body lay several feet from the drawer, face down, arms bent awkwardly beneath him, knees drawn slightly inward. The skin along his forearms and legs showed faint abrasions, thin streaks, like friction against tile. Like he had moved. I stood there, staring, trying to fit it into something that made sense. Maybe he fell. Maybe the drawer malfunctioned. Maybe... No. The distance was wrong. The position was wrong. Everything about it was wrong. I knelt beside him slowly. "Mr. Harold?" I muttered, before I could stop myself. My voice sounded too loud in the silence. I repositioned him carefully, placed him back onto the tray, aligned his limbs, closed the drawer. My hands were shaking. I tried to tell Jenna, wanted her to come out clean if she was messing with me, but she had no clue what I was blabbering about. I couldn't explain it, and I didn't want to hear it out loud. That was the night I started feeling watched. It wasn't immediate, it crept in, a quiet awareness at the back of my mind, like something in the room had shifted, like I wasn't alone anymore. I checked the cameras. Everything looked normal, but something felt off. Frames didn't line up quite right. Small gaps I couldn't account for. Moments missing. When I went back to the storage room, his drawer was open again. I didn't remember opening it. I knew I hadn't. That's when I stopped trying to explain it. I turned the corner slowly, and that's when I saw him. Mr. Harold was standing. Not upright, not fully. His body was bent forward slightly, spine curved at an unnatural angle. His arms hung too low, fingers nearly brushing the door. His head lagged behind the rest of him, tilted at a delay that made my stomach turn. Then, he moved. A small shift, a correction, like something adjusting its balance. His leg jerked forward, too stiff, too deliberate, his foot planted awkwardly against the tile. He took a step, not toward me, not toward anything, just forward, like he was learning. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I just watched. His eyes were open, not wide, not searching, just open, empty. There was nothing there, as if there was nothing of higher recognition to operate. The machine was free from its intelligent creator, but the machine operated as it was designed. It moved without any recognition. No awareness, no life, just motion. I don't remember leaving. I don't remember calling anyone. All I know is I never went back. Jenna messaged me about my hasty departure. She was left with no answers, and I was left with no conclusion. Just another file logged, but this one didn't make any sense. I still think about Mr. Harold, about what I saw, about what it means. There is nothing inside him, nothing controlling. So what taught him to stand? If a body can still move without its person, then what part of us actually makes us human?